So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 realistic mock trades that would send Ben Simmons to a different team this offseason. And Ben Simmons could get traded by the Philadelphia 76ers this offseason, especially given his terrible performance in the 2021 NBA playoffs. And to be exact, Ben Simmons shot 33% from the free throw line against the Atlanta Hawks in round 2, and he passed up a wide open dunk in game 7. But with that being said, there will still be a market for a potential Ben Simmons trade, as he's still only 24 years old and averaged about 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists per game this season. And he also averaged 2 steals and about a block per game this season. And of course, he is still a very good playmaker and a great defender. And he shot almost 56% from the field this season. But of course, there are tons of negatives to his game, as he cannot shoot the ball. And he is also on a very expensive contract, as he's going to be averaging about $40 million per year in the next 4 years. And in the playoffs, he definitely lacked a ton of aggressiveness that he usually had in the season. So he basically needs to work on almost everything this offseason. And reports have actually said that switching his right hand as his dominant hand is actually on the table this offseason for him. But with that all out of the way, let's get into the first mock trade that sends him out of Philly. So in mock trade number 1, the San Antonio Spurs would receive Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers would receive DeMar DeRozan. So for the Philadelphia 76ers, this would be through a sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan, and this could definitely turn out to be very beneficial for the squad, since they could also have an opportunity to sign Kyle Lowry either through sign and trade or from free agency. And a potential starting lineup for next season would be Kyle Lowry, Seth Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. And in my opinion, that type of team would definitely be able to go to the NBA Finals, since that type of team would have shooting, playmaking, and defense. And for the San Antonio Spurs, reports have came out that Greg Popovich is apparently willing to give up anyone on the squad to get Ben Simmons. And this would definitely make an interesting lineup in San Antonio, with players like DeJounte Murray and Ben Simmons together on the same team. And the Spurs starting lineup could look like DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Ben Simmons, and Jakob Poeltl. And yes, with that type of team, they would definitely have some shooting problems, since DeJounte Murray and Ben Simmons are not the greatest three-point shooters. But that is a trade that they still should consider if the opportunity presents itself, since this type of move would definitely enhance their rebuild and would stack up on star talent. And now with that being said, let's get into mock trade number 2. So in the second mock trade, the Minnesota Timberwolves would receive Ben Simmons and the 76ers would receive D'Angelo Russell. So in this mock trade, the Sixers would receive D'Angelo Russell, as he was averaging about 19 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal per game last season. And he's still only 25 years old, so he still has some room to improve. And last season, he was definitely injury prone, as he missed a ton of games. But in those games that he played, he still shot about 38% from 3-point range, which is definitely promising. But the Timberwolves may not want to trade D'Angelo Russell just yet, because Cat and D'Angelo Russell are definitely close. But if it is for Ben Simmons, they could actually decide to potentially do that type of deal, because then they could have a little big 3 of Anthony Edwards, Ben Simmons, and Karl Anthony Towns. And another potential idea would include Malik Beasley in this trade, but then the 76ers would definitely have to give up more. And now with that being said, let's get into mock trade number 3. So in this mock trade, the Golden State Warriors would receive Ben Simmons and the Sixers would receive Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre Jr. So this is definitely not the greatest idea for the Golden State Warriors in terms of the spacing with Draymond Green and Ben Simmons. But there is a possibility that it could work, since Draymond or Ben Simmons would play the 4 or the 5. And with the 7 and 14 picks, if the Warriors are able to actually draft 3-point shooters like Corey Kispert, they could have a very decent team with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Corey Kispert, Ben Simmons, and Draymond Green. And another option would be playing Ben Simmons at the 1 and then shooting guard being Stephen Curry, small forward being Klay Thompson, power forward Draymond Green, and center James Wiseman. But still, with a starting lineup that has only 2 elite shooters in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, this will be a tough way to actually have a good lineup with no shooting around them. So the only way this could potentially work for the Warriors would be if they have Corey Kispert or someone like that as a 3-point shooter alongside Steph and Klay. And with the 76ers, they would receive Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre Jr. and that would be definitely interesting for them since Wiggins is still improving and Kelly Oubre Jr. is still only 25 years old and definitely has some room to improve. And with Oubre, this would have to be through a sign and trade deal. But with this trade, the 76ers are not getting a point guard in return, so they might have a problem at that position. So with that all being said, let's get into mock trade number 4. And in mock trade number 4, the Trailblazers would receive Ben Simmons as the 76ers would receive CJ McCollum. And for the 76ers, they would get a reliable shooting guard to be their second option on offense, as CJ McCollum averaged 23 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and shot 40% from 3-point range last season. But since McCollum did not perform well in the playoffs, his value has definitely downgraded. And for the Trailblazers, having Ben Simmons and Damian Lillard on the same squad could be something potentially interesting, but it's probably not the best fit, since both players require the ball in their hands to be able to play at their best. But maybe there's a potential of Ben Simmons at the 1 and Damian Lillard at the 2. And it's still unlikely, but it's always a possibility. And now let's get into the final mock trade in trade number 5. And this would probably be the most unrealistic out of them all, but in this trade, the Clippers would receive Ben Simmons and the Sixers receive Patrick Beverley and Luke Kennard. So for the 76ers, this would definitely not be a good trade for Ben Simmons, as they do not receive good value since they also receive a bad contract in Luke Kennard. And Patrick Beverley is a nice backup point guard as a defender, but he's already 32 years old, so that's not enough value for Ben Simmons at all. And Luke Kennard still has upside since he's 25 years old and shot about 45% from 3-point range this season. And maybe he just needs a bigger role as a starting shooting guard on a team. And that role could definitely be available on the 76ers squad, but still is definitely not enough in order to land Ben Simmons in Los Angeles. And the Clippers would likely at least need to include a few first-round picks. And for the Clippers, the fit is not terrible since they do need a point guard for the future. And Reggie Jackson has been great in the playoffs, but he's probably not the solution for the long-term point guard position. And a team of Ben Simmons, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard could definitely be a championship contending squad, since that team would definitely have shooting, defense, and playmaking on their squad. So let me know in the comment section down below, which team do you think should target Ben Simmons, and do you think the 76ers should look into trading him this offseason? And if so, comment down below which type of trade idea you have, and I will definitely make sure to get back to you on that. And there are definitely some realistic trades out of these 5, but not all of them, especially the Clippers one. But the fits would definitely be interesting on all of those 5 teams. And if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you're new. It was KNYT here, and I'm out. Peace.